see the screen, so you don't have to feel weird. Okay, this is lesson 3.3, properties of functions, okay? So I want to talk about increasing. Something's increasing if it looks like this, you guys. You start at the left, and as you travel to the right, the graph goes up. That's increasing, okay? Decreasing is if you start on the left and the graph goes down. Okay, everybody turn forward, take notes, okay? Are we good? The graph goes down like that. That's what decreasing looks like, okay? And then constant is just when it's a horizontal line, so there's no change in the y value. That's what it looks like when it's constant, okay? So sometimes people mess up on increasing, decreasing, constant. I want to tell you the 3 reasons why, okay? So one reason is these are x values only. Make sure you write down everything I write. So when I look at you, you're writing, okay? X values only, never y values, okay? The second reason that people miss this is that you have to go from left to right as you write it. And then the third thing is you use parentheses only. You never use brackets like that. Okay? Okay, I want everybody to look at the graph. And I want you to think of this as a map. So someone has drawn a map for you of where to go. And these are streets. So first you're going to travel down this street, and then you're going to change to this street, and then you're going to come up here and change to this street. So whenever you change streets, that is an important point right here. Okay, so right there, that at the beginning is -3, 4. It's left 3, up 4. And then we changed right here, so that ordered pair is 0, 1. And then we get to here, and that ordered pair is 3, 1. And then we get to our final destination, and that is the ordered pair 6, 6. Okay? Now I want you to take your pencil, and I want you to cross out the 4, the 0, the 1, and the 6. Someone tell me why we just did that. X values, not y's, right? Good. Okay, now everybody look right here. It's an easy concept, but sometimes people just get confused. So you have to start on the left. That's over here. Where's the first place that it touches the graph? Here. As I'm traveling from the left to the right, you tell me what's happening, guys. Increasing, decreasing, or constant? Tell me. Decreasing. Decreasing. Where does the decreasing begin? At an x value of -3. Where does the decreasing end? At an x value of 0, okay? And I want you to remember that they're always parentheses, okay? So it decreases from -3 to 0. And now we're right here at the 0, and I'm traveling to the right, and tell me what's happening here, guys, increasing, decreasing, or constant? Constant. So where does the constant begin? Begins at a 0. Where does it end? It ends at a 3. These are x values, okay? Now I'm still traveling from the left to the right, and I'm here. Tell me what's happening here, guys. Increasing. Where does the increasing begin? At a 3. Where does it end? At a 6. That's it. Okay? All right. So this right here, Weber State is super picky about, so I need you to listen, okay? A local maximum point versus a local maximum value. So I'm telling you, I graded 1050 tests, 1050 and 1010 finals 2 weeks ago. That was the week, remember I told you I worked 65 hours that week. I mean, I was dying. So this is so fresh in my mind. If they say point and you don't write it as a point, they're going to give you nothing, okay? So if they say local maximum point, you have to write it as x, y. If they say the value, the answer is y equals something. So that's how you're going to write your answer, okay? Yes?
Instead of just asking for the value, when they say maxima instead, or minima?
So I think that word change depending on the number of them. So I think it's maximum, or if there's more than one, I think they say maxima, but I don't know. But Weber State doesn't use that lingo, so I don't think you need to worry about it. Okay? Okay, so local maximum point, you guys, it's not the ultimate maximum. It's just a peak is all it is. Okay, so right here is a peak, and right here is also a peak. So it's the ordered pair is the point. So the first peak is -1, 0, and the second peak is 2, 2. So we have two of them. One is higher than the other. It doesn't matter that one's higher than the other. You guys, a local maximum or a local minimum just means a peak within a certain region. So who cares which one's higher, okay, or that one is higher. And then the next one is find the local maximum value. So the first one would be y equals 0, and the second one would be y equals 2. So it's just the y values of those local maximum. And if it says min, it's the same thing, okay? Look at the next one. Find the local minimum point. You guys, they might even not say point. They might say find the local minimum. That's a point, okay? So that would be right here, and that ordered pair is 0, -4, like that. Then the local minimum value would be y equals, and then it's that value, which is a -4, and that's your answer. That's it. Okay? Yes, honey?
What on the local maximum value, wouldn't it be y equals 3?
It is 3. Thank you. I put 2. Thank you so much for that correction. Yeah. I don't get weird when people correct me. I actually love it when people correct me. Because number one, that means you understand, and number two, it means you're paying attention. So it's perfect. So thank you, honey. Okay, example 2. Answer the following questions. Okay. At what point does it have a local maximum? So here it is right here. Okay. And it's that ordered pair 0, 4. You have to write it as a point. At what point does it have a local minimum? Guys, that's this one right here, which would be 2, 0. Where is it increasing and where is it decreasing? So guys, remember you start on the left. Look right here. Here I am on the left. I'm traveling to the right, and it's increasing along that yellow right there. So it increases from -infinity to that x value, which is a 0. And then it decreases right here. It's going down. It is not this. People will do this. It decreases from 3 to 0. Why would they say 3 to 0? Can someone get in their head? Why would they do that? Where'd they get that 3 from? It's the y value, right? This is 0, 3, and this is 2, 0. But remember, those y values you don't even bring those in at all. So then, therefore, it would be 0, 2, like that. So just be careful, okay? And then it starts increasing again. Where does the increasing begin? It begins at a 2. And for how long on the x-axis does that graph keep going up? Forever. So that would be to infinity. Okay, you guys, please remember that you have to write y-intercepts as an ordered pair. The other variables is 0. The x-intercepts, ordered pair. The other variables is 0. So just look at the graph. Where does it cross the y-axis? That would be 0, 4. X-intercepts, you have -1, 0, and you also have 2, 0, and that's it. Okay. Okay, question, well, this idea, even or odd, okay? You guys, they really like to quiz you a lot, Weber State, on these definitions. So you definitely have to memorize these, okay? So something's even if it's symmetric across the y-axis. Something's odd if it's symmetric across the origin, okay? So guys, look at this first graph right here. Look, here's your y-axis. Take half the graph, fold it across the red line, it lies on top of the other half, it's symmetric across the y-axis. This one is symmetric across the origin. Remember, origin, guys, means take that, reflect it across the x, it goes there, then reflect it across the y, it goes there, that's reflected across the origin. Okay, now, I'm going to try to explain something to you. It's hard to explain and it's hard to understand. If you don't understand, It's okay. You can memorize it. But I want you to try to understand, okay? So look right here. See this? XY. Let's say that this was 1, 1, like that, okay? And then over here, the ordered pair that went with it would be negative 1, 1, okay? Why don't you write that down with me, okay? So, if 1, 1 is a point on the graph, then that means f of 1 is equal to 1. Negative 1, 1, if that's a point on the graph, then that means f of negative 1 is also 1. Who says, I understand what you're saying? Let me see. Okay, great. Now listen to this. I'm going to let x be of 1 right now. So if x was 1, then I would say f of x equals 1. Over here, if x was 1, I would say f of negative x is equal to 1. Well, do you notice that f of x and f of negative x are the same? So if f of negative x is equal to f of x, then the answer is even. That is absolutely something that you're going to have to memorize, okay? Just so you know. Okay, let's do the same thing over here. Let's let that ordered pair xy be 1, 1. Then when you reflect it and reflect it, the ordered pair over here is, somebody tell me what that would be over here. Thank you, negative 1, negative 1. So if I have the ordered pair 1, 1, then I have f of 1 is equal to 1. If I have negative 1, negative 1, then I have f of negative 1 is equal to negative 1. I'm going to let x be a 1. So that would be f of x equals 1. This right here would be f of negative x equals negative 1. Okay, now they're not the same. In order to make this a negative 1, I'd have to multiply the right and the left by a negative. So that would mean negative f of x would be negative 1. So if it's odd, then negative f of x is equal to f of negative x. That's something that you're going to have to memorize, okay? It's really pretty easy though. Look what you do. If the negative equals the negative, then the answer is odd. If the negative equals the positive, then it's even. That's all you have to really remember. Negative to negative, odd. Negative to positive, even. That's what you have to remember, okay? Okay, so inside that box is pretty much everything that we've already talked about. It's super important that you have that memorized for the quiz. Remember, when you take the quiz on Thursday, you don't get any notes or anything, okay? Okay, here's what you do. I'm going to give you some steps, okay? Step number 1, you're going to find f of negative x. Step number 2, you're going to find negative f of x. Step number 3, you're going to evaluate it. And here's how you evaluate it. If the negative, meaning f of negative x, is equal to the negative, meaning negative f of x, then it's called odd, if the negative equals the negative. If the negative, meaning f of negative x, equals the positive, meaning f of x, that's even. And if it's neither one of those, then it's neither. Okay? Okay, nice and slowly. Some of you have been taught to put in a number, like put in a 2 and see how they compare. Weber State's not going to let you put in a number. You have to put in like an x or negative x. Okay, first thing I want you to do is let's find f of negative x. So in parentheses, put a negative x and it's squared. It has to be in parentheses. And then you simplify it. So a negative to an even power is a positive, but you still have the x squared, and you've got the minus 1. Okay? And then negative f of x, that second one is super easy, guys. All you do is take a negative and distribute it into that original problem. You do have to simplify these. So this would be negative x to the second plus 1. So now look what I'm comparing, guys. I'm comparing my original equation, just the right side, to this, okay? Are any of them the same? They are. So I have to say f of x is equal to f of negative x. Those are the two that are equal. And then I'm going to do this triangle. It's like the vertices of an equilateral triangle. That symbol means therefore, okay? So if the positive equals the negative, then the answer is even. That's it, okay? This right here, this justification, you guys, you have to write that down. You have to say why it's even, okay? Okay, let's do another one. Just for the record, you guys, this used to come up a lot on midterms and finals. I would see this very regularly, and it hasn't been as regular, just so you know. It will be on my quizzes and my tests, just so I make sure that you're ready, but I think the chance of it being on the midterm is lower than what it has been, okay? Okay, let's do question B. So I'm going to find g of negative x. You guys, this is wrong. Look, negative x to the third plus 1. That's wrong, because all of x is cubed and x is a negative x, so I have to put parentheses around it, so just be careful, okay? A negative to the third is a negative, and then you've got your x to the third plus 1. Now I'm going to do the next one. The second one is easy. It's just negative g of x. So I put a negative, and then in parentheses I put my g of x, distribute, and I get negative x to the third minus 1, okay? So I've got this here, and this here, and this here. Those are the three things I'm comparing. None of them are the same. So this is what I have to say, guys. Look, f of x is not equal to f of negative x, which is not equal to negative f of x. Therefore, the answer is neither. That's it. Who's with me? Raise your hand up high if you're following what I'm doing. Okay, great. Okay, let's do question C. H of negative x. Guys, do me a favor. See this step 1, f of negative x? Draw an arrow to yourself, and I want you to write the word parentheses. I really want you to make sure that you put parentheses around that negative x. Otherwise, you're writing it wrong. Okay? So, in parentheses, negative x to the third, minus, in parentheses, negative x. So you've got a negative to an odd is a negative, and you've got your x to the third. Then a negative times a negative is a positive x. So there's your h of negative x. Now I'm going to do negative h of x. So I'm going to put a negative, and then in parentheses I have to put that original function, which is a negative x to the third plus x. On my homework and on my quiz, I don't think I would highlight this. I'm just trying to show you. This is what I'm comparing. This to this to this. Are any of those the same? Yes. You have to write down what's the same. So you have to say h of negative x is equal to negative h of x. Try to remember without looking, you guys. Do you remember yet? If the negative equals the negative, is that even, odd, or neither? What is it? It is odd. Good. If anything's equal, it's either going to be even or odd. They're all different. That's when it's neither. Okay? Okay, question D. Find f of negative x. So in parentheses, negative x to the fourth, plus in parentheses, negative x to the second, plus 3. A negative to an even is a positive x to the fourth. A negative to an even is a positive x to the second plus 3. Okay, now everybody listen. Do I really need to find negative f of x? Can anybody tell me that? I don't need to find it because look, I've already found two that are the same. So this and this are the same. So I'm going to say f of x is equal to f of negative x. Therefore, the answer is, try to remember without looking. What's the answer? Even is correct. Yeah. You guys, you know how you memorize all this even, odd, neither, and everything you need to memorize in here? When you do your homework, You don't look at your notes. You make yourself remember. Is that even or odd? By the time you're done, it's memorized. Okay? Question E is kind of weird. Okay? Write a note right here and say that this is a little bit weird. It's not typical. Okay? So everybody go f of negative x. In parentheses, negative x. Nothing you can do to that. Negative f of x means put a negative right there and then write down your f of x. I wouldn't highlight these if I were you, but I'm highlighting it so you can see. Do you see how they all look different? Sometimes with absolute values, they look different, but they're really the same, so it's a little tricky. So look what I want you to do. Let's do a table of values, okay? So let's do this. If x is this, then what would f of x be? What would f of negative x be? And what would negative f of x be? So don't choose a number like 0, because then they're all just going to be zeros. That doesn't tell me. You can do something like a 1. That's nice and easy. So if I put a 1 right here, guys, into the original, I'd get the absolute value of 1, which is a 1. If I put a 1 in here, I'd get the absolute value of negative 1, which is also a 1. And if I put a 1 in here, the negative on the outside would stay, and then the absolute value of 1 is a 1. So negative f of x is not the same as anything. But the other two might be the same. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to check one more just to make sure I'm good. So if I put in a 10, let's do it different. Let's make it negative 10, a little tougher. In the original, the absolute value of negative 10 is a 10. In negative f of x, that would be a negative 10, which would be a 10. The absolute value of 10 is a 10. So they're the same. Okay? So I'm going to say f of x is equal to f of negative x. Therefore, my answer is even, and I'm done. Okay? Next one. F of negative x. This is tricky. Weber State used to love to give these questions. They haven't done it as much, okay, just so you know. But put everything in parentheses. So look what you're going to do. Parenthesis, negative x to the third, square root, 2 parenthesis, negative x minus 1. All I did is go into that expression, and wherever I see an x, I put in negative x, okay? And negative to the third is a negative, x to the third. Then I have the square root of 2 times negative x is negative 2x minus 1. Okay? You guys, listen for a second. I'm going to go off over here on this little tangent for a second. Look at this. If I had something like this, and someone was asking me to multiply by a negative, would I do this? Would I go negative 7 and then negative 2x minus 1? Would I do that? No, because then I'm multiplying the outside by negative and the inside by negative. That would be really a negative times a negative, which I'm really multiplying by a positive. So if you're trying to multiply by negative, you don't do the in and the out. Just do the out, okay? So it would really be like that, what you're supposed to do. Okay, so now let's come over here and apply that over here. So that's negative f of x. You guys look, this is a monomial. That is one term. Okay, the square root looks like it's 2 terms, but it's multiplied by the x to the third, so it's really just one term. So when you do it, it's so easy. Look what you do. You just write down the exact same expression, but you put a negative in front. That's all you do. You can never pull a negative into a square root. Don't do that. Leave that 2x minus 1 alone. So now just compare, guys. Look, is this the same as this or the same as that? No, they're all different. So I'm going to say f of x is not equal to f of negative x, which is not equal to negative f of x. Therefore, my answer is neither. That's it. Okay, who says I'm totally good? Raise your hand. Let me see up high. Okay. Let's see how much more we've got. We're almost done. Okay, you guys, will you listen for 2 seconds? Okay, everybody listen. So I'm getting a little bit of vibes from you guys, and I feel like it's an appropriate time to say this. So, Abby, will you listen, honey, and maybe you can let them know your thoughts? Weber State expectations of you are here. If I make my expectations of you here, then you're going to do great on my stuff. And then when you take the final and they're expecting this and we've been here, that's not going to be good for you. So my expectations have to be right there. So I know what they want. I know how they expect you to write it. I know what work they want to show. And I'm going to make you do exactly the same thing. So my expectations are going to be here, and that's because theirs are going to be here. So if I'm telling you this is what I want you to write and this is how I want you to write it, it's not because I'm making you write a lot. It's because I want you to be really good on the midterm, and I have to get you to practice writing it at the level that they expect you to write it at. Okay? Do you understand? Tell me yes or no. Is everybody good? Okay, Abby, can you speak to that, honey?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time your quizzes are a lot harder than the actual test, and I think that helped me a lot because I knew what to study that I didn't know on the quiz, because
Yeah.
there's not on the quiz like that could have been on the test,
Right.
but maybe wasn't, but I feel like the test corrections and knew what I was doing.
Yeah, so the quiz is really like a pretest. And I actually disagree with you, Abby. I don't think the quizzes are tougher. I think you just got better. You know what I mean? Like, I think the quiz was really tough because you didn't know, and then you fixed it and you knew and you took that test and you nailed it. Not that it was easier, it's because you did your corrections and you figured it out. You know what I mean? So I think you're underestimating yourself. I think it was you that did it. So anyway, okay, let's keep going. Okay, even, odd, or neither. So I want you to remember that if something is odd, it's symmetric across the origin. Okay, so everybody write down origin right here. If something is even, it's symmetric across the y-axis. And if it's not symmetric across the y-axis or the origin, then the answer is either. Okay, so everybody look at this graph. Take half the graph, I'm going to take here. If you reflect it across the y-axis, you guys, it goes right there. Is the green lying on top the other half of my graph? No. So it's definitely not going to be even. Now, it could be origin. So if I took the green and then reflected it across the y, it goes there. Does that lie on top of the other half? No. So the answer here is neither. Who says I gotcha? Let me see up high. Okay, great. Okay, this one right here is definitely not even, because look right here. Here's this half. Reflected across the y, it's going to go there. It's not on the other half. But then you take that pink and fold it across the x, and it is on the other half. So what's the answer, everybody? It's odd. It's reflected across the origin, therefore it's odd. Okay? Okay, average rate of change. So this is a question right here that used to not be up here on things, and it actually, I think, was both on the midterm and the final. I think it's an easy question, but I think you have to remember how to do it. Okay, so listen. When you hear the words average rate of change, something should come into your brain. What is it? It is slope. Yes, average rate of change is just slope. And the slope formula is here. Take the y's and subtract them, take the x's and subtract them. So it's really easy, okay? You just have to remember how to do it. So find the average rate of change, find the slope of that equation from 1 to 3. Here's what I need you to know. 1 and 3 are both x values. That's what you need to know. So guys, your ordered pairs are 1 comma something and 3 comma something, like that. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to find f of 1. I have to find the y that goes with it. And the way I find the y that goes with it is I plug it in. So that would be 3 times 1 squared. Well, that gives me 3. So that ordered pair is 1 comma 3. The next one is f of 3 equals 3 times 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So that goes right there. And now I'm just going to find the slope. So the formula is m equals, take the second y, 27, subtract the first y, 3, over the second x, 3, minus the first x, 1. So that's going to give me 24 over 2, and you always have to simplify that as far as you can, so the answer is 12. Okay, let's do the next one. I do think this will be on your midterm, and I think that's good news, because I think this is, in the big scheme of things, this is pretty easy. Okay, so I need you to remember that 1 and 5 are x values, so you're going to set it up like that, you guys, okay? Now, we already figured out from question A that if x is 1, then y is 3, so I could just write that down. Now I have to figure out what y is if x is 5. You guys, you have to show me this work. Look, f of 5 is 3 times 5 squared. 5 squared is 25. 25 times 3 is 75. So there are my two ordered pairs. If it helps you, label them. X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. I'm not going to make you label them, but if you want to, that's great. Then the formula is y sub 2, which is 75, minus y sub 1, which is a 3, over x sub 2, which is a 5, minus x sub 1, which is a 1. That is 72 over 4, and 72 over 4 is, anybody know?
18.
18, thank you. 18 is your answer, and you're done. That's it. Okay? Okay, so here is the first thing over there, guys, on that list of things you have to do. This is assignment 3.3, okay? Make sure you fold your paper, go down the columns, go down the other side, highlight or box as you go, check all your odds. Another thing is this, guys, see the work that I've shown? And that's what I want. All this, that's what your homework needs to look like. Go slowly on your homework. If you rush through your homework, you guys, it's not going to go well. You're not going to understand. You're getting 10 points on your homework, big deal. You're not going to do well on your quiz, and that's the big picture, okay? Questions about anything?